Hey there, everyone. It's Dr. Yang, book coach. How's everyone doing today? We have there we go. Wanted to make sure we were coming across live. Here we go. Hold on. Audio doesn't come across clear. Hello. Yep, it's not coming across. Something's not coming across properly. Hello? Oh, it seems to be on that side, but I'm not coming through on this side. Oh, there we are. Okay. On this side. Now, okay. I'm going to do something I won't normally do, but okay. I'll do an edit on the front end. All right, so welcome everybody. This is Dr. Yang. We are in day 2 of our Back to Biz reboot. And so today we're going to go into goal setting. Yesterday, if you didn't have a chance to watch, we went into money blockers and just kind of how do we remove obstacles and bust through those blockers in enough ways that when we think about money and positioning ourselves to receive money, make money, it's going to help to kind of just broaden your horizons a bit and allow you to see things through a different lens. And so that's essentially what yesterday was about. So please go through that particular coaching cycle, and there is a worksheet in the guide section inside of our Facebook group community. So today we're going to get to some fun stuff. I think it's fun. I'm a little geeky. What can I say when it comes to numbers? We're going to be really talking through your data and setting goals. Now, I'm sure you all have goals. I'm sure you probably all set goals for yourself, but were they specific enough that you could measure it, that it was attainable, that you were able to do it in some type of manner, and also most importantly, that you put it into action? And what I mean by that is oftentimes we set these arbitrary goals, I'm going to call them arbitrary goals that don't necessarily amount to much. They sound good. You might have even put in really cute and nice in your journal. But did you actually have a plan in place? So today we're going to focus on looking at your data and really figuring out what is it that we could do differently or set a goal based on some data and not some random number you pull out of thin air. Remember, it's always a telltale sign for me whenever I'm speaking with a client. The telltale sign for me that they're not looking at the data when they start looking up here. When you're looking up there, I know there's nothing down here. So we want to get to a point where we are really looking at some numbers. So I'm going to go through a scenario with you today. Which is why if you note in the notations of this session, in the email notifications that you have inside of our Facebook group posts, I've asked you to pull your data. Now, if you don't have data to pull, that's an issue, because I don't know how you run a business if you're not tracking your information in some way, shape, form, or fashion. You have to have some type of a customer relationship management system, i.e. CRM. You have some bookkeeping software of some sort. Doesn't have to be, there's so much free stuff out there. It's not an excuse. So what I'm going to say is if you don't have those two primary tools in place, you're not running a business. You're still in Hobby Lobby land. And I don't mean that in a formal sense, but you're still in hobby land. And you're playing business and you're not running a business. You've got to be able, one, to hold yourself accountable to your numbers, that you're tracking your revenue, and that you're also recording it, and then you're documenting when it comes to doing your taxes for that purpose. I don't care if you're solopreneurs, freelancers, coaches, people working for themselves. You need to be accounting for the money that you're making and generating. Plain and simple. Now, with that in mind, I'm going to share with you here. Let me pull up my so the first document you're going to see is where's my that's not the window I want. I don't want the tab either. It's not showing my other tab. Okay, we'll just do the whole screen. And let me hold on 1 second. It's not letting me do what I want to do. Okay, bring that up. Okay. And now we can present. Here we go. All right. So the first thing is that you have a simple handout that's inside of our group, and it's called your SMART worksheet. And this is what I'm going to walk you through first. And then we're going to walk you through a scenario. I want you to think about it in the context of the business that you have, and then how you will begin to go ahead and draft out your goal statement. And again, it should be based on the data. So the reason why it's called a SMART goal, it is an acronym, and we're going to walk through these 5 components. So the first one is to be specific to a real goal, right? Should be specific, it should be measurable, it should be attainable, it should be relevant, and it should be time-based. That's how we set goals. We don't set goals by making wish statements. I wish I could do this and I wish I could do that. No, we're not doing that here. Here, it's about being specific enough around a particular goal centered around data, which is where we're going to go start to first. So we're going to walk through the 5 steps. But first, I want us to take a look at some data. So that's our first goal. So I'm going to stop here. There we go. Now, what about your data? Well, there's a couple of key components when we think about data. There's the data about the types of sales that you have. Now, this applies whether you're doing your product-based business or service-based business, but the number of sales that you have, the number of clients that you serve, the total amount of money that you make on a daily, a weekly, a monthly basis, and also some of your expenses, in particular when it comes to marketing, which is what we're going to be focusing on. So I want to share with you my first, I'm just going to keep it real simple here, and let's just go through some numbers. So I'm going to go through a scenario and take us through that. So the first one is this is looking at some raw data. So what you want to be able to do with your data is have a couple of pieces in mind. So here is, here. So I kind of put this together for us for today. And I'm going to zoom in a bit. Make sure you guys can see this. I'm going to put it up to 125. Let's make it a little legible. There we go. All righty. So I want us to think about, so there was a couple of key pieces that I told you should be looking for. One, to get number of sales, clients that you service for the last 3 months. What did that look like for you? So we don't look at some historical data, right? We want to base our decisions on facts. So what were your sales for whatever based on your business model, right? If you're an event planner, then how many events did you service for the months of May, June, and July? What was that total revenue for each one of those months? And then what was the expenses when it came to marketing for those months? And we're going to talk through those pieces, right? What were your highest performing services or products, if you have some staggered types of packages or products or services, when you look at your data for those sales, were there some uh, products that were very popular? What were they? What were the top sellers? Then what were your least selling products for that same period of time that didn't move, no inventory moved, didn't sell any services, didn't upsell? Kind of what is that? What are those pieces and parts? Right? Those are the questions you need to be asking yourself first. And then another one to kind of look at is data around profitability. So yes, you could sell a lot of items, but if there's not enough profitability in those items, then when it comes down to looking at your net revenue, right, after costs and expenses, then what do you net? Then you may not be focusing on the right things. So I want you to think of a little along those lines, identifying which of those items were the most profitable margin wise. Now, and I'll circle back to that. And then also, to be fair, is there some seasonality that impacts your business at all? I'm going to say that there's room for that, but at the same time, what this exercise is going to also allow you to do is how do you overcome that? Because if you recognize and know that there's a seasonality to your business, then you have to be much more proactive to compensate for slow season times and all those other things. You've got to be able to leverage your business in such a way that it's not going to be a hardship when those times come. So you do need to be much more proactive, which gets to something that I talk about often is about your promotional calendar for the year, right? Because those are the things that you are able to do. It keeps things intact with respect to that. So again, at the bare minimum, these are going to be some of our data points we're going to walk through. So I sketched together for you for today just a scenario. All right. So this one happens to be a massage therapist. The name of the business is Tranquil Touch Massage. Okay. And so Tranquil Touch Massage, their target audience, this is part of your step item one. Who do you serve? What is your target? Who do you aim to serve? And is that the people you're getting? So the first thing is, so in this particular case, this particular business is a service-based business, right? So being service-based, they're getting clients. They do sell some products alongside it, right? For upselling or for maintenance in between some services that they have. But that's not a large portion of what they do. So I'm not going to focus on that right now. That could certainly be something to aspire to and kind of incorporate a little bit later. But for the purposes of today, that's what we're going to work on. Now, that being said, so their target audience, because they're a local business, then he and she are servicing a geographic area. So they service a tri-county area. And in most cases, if you live in communities where people will be willing to come to you, right? Again, that's part of the marketing aspect is are people willing to drive a distance to come to you, meaning that they're going to pass by several other businesses that are like yours, but are willing to come to you because of who you are and what you're able to offer and do. Okay, so we have that. So tri-county, typically, when I speak in those terms, is either your county where you're in, and usually a close by county, either to the east of you, to the north of you, to the south or the north of you, right? If you have any other communities or cities, you get to make that decision from a local business, right? Who do you feel you can serve, and not just the very close-knit circle that you have that might be too confining for you. Okay, so there's that. So in this particular case, their tri-county area, their audience is people who are looking into personal body enhancement work, i.e. plastic surgery or non-invasive types of treatments, right? So it's either body enhancement work that is done by a plastic surgeon, in which they are actually servicing the post surgery necessities, and or personal body enhancements that are more non-invasive treatments, like body sculpting, like cool sculpting, body sculpting, also doing body recovery, those types of pieces. But lymphatic drainage happens to be one of their key things, which happens to do when you go to these, when you go through those types of enhancement surgeries, there's post work like you got to do after the surgery. There's not like insto changeo, right? So that's her target audience that they're going to serve. Now, the national average, right? Because we want to look at some statistical data, right? If you don't have enough of your own. So national data says that the average clientele for that industry is 12 clients a week. And the average sale or session price is about $110 a read. That's average, meaning that there's some higher price ticket items and there's some lower price ticket items, but that's the average, right? So you always want to compare yourself to the industry to see, are you on par or not? So that's part of your homework. If you didn't already do that, that's certainly something that you want to look into. There's lots of statistical data out there from the labor markets and the industries themselves. They put out lots of statistical information. You just have to pull up Bing and Google and Safari, and they will help you out more than you'll ever know. All right, so had you done your homework, this is what we would be looking at. So I asked you to first get some numbers around how many customers or sales did you make for the last 3 months, not including this month, right? So, and this applies for those who are watching this later down the line. Same things apply, right? Just make the date adjustments, no biggie. So in this particular scenario, for the months of May, there were 48 serviced clients, some of which were repeat clients, by the way. So you got to kind of keep those things in mind, right? How many were new? How many were repeat or return customers? You need to break that down because that might be able to tell you something. If you don't have enough repeats, and they should be repeats, that should tell you something. June, it went down. July, it went up a little bit, but it's still lower than what it was in May, right? So if we were to even take this information, let's just be playful. I'm going to take that little chart, right? That row column of information, if you want to see it visually. And you can take it. I'm sitting inside of Google's Sheets, by the way. And you can create a chart so that you can look at it. This is going to let me do it here. So this might take a little while because there we go. Here is my chart, right? So from a visual representation, this is kind of what it looks like. And notice it even does this for you. Number of sales based on it automatically will generate this because based on the information on the chart itself, right? So you can kind of get a sense for visually, up in June, up in May, down in June, a little bit better in July. What's the story behind that data? Only you can tell it to yourself. Don't lie to yourself. It's not good. But what did you do differently? Or, like I said, there are some seasonality things that might be impacted that you need to think about. That's fine. Take a note of it. But how do you need to do things differently, which is where the strategic planning is going to come into place. Okay. So that just kind of gives you a sense for that data. I'm going to delete that. And then we're looking at, well, what does that turn out in the form of money? So in this particular case, we're saying, okay, what was the total revenue, money taken in, right, without taking into account any expenses? So we have 4,200, then it went down to maybe 3,100, and then it went down to 35. It went a little bit up 35 because it was a little bit better numbers, but not by very much. Okay. Now, something to keep a point of is that what were the average sales, for these people? Everybody didn't do the same service all day. For those 48 servers, they weren't all the same. So you need to chunk it down and get down to the nooks and crannies of your data to say, okay, well, what did those 48 appointments look like? How many were of the different services? or some of them 90 minutes, some of them 60 minutes, depending again on how you deliver your services and your consultations or your products, right? If it's products, same thing. Did one order consist of multiple quantities? If so, that could tell you something, that you get more of those types, right? Did people buy certain products together? If you see a trend taking place, then now we're really digging into your data. But you can look at things from a trend perspective. That's something else you might want to take into account. But I'm not going to go too deep with it. But this is just the total for that month, right? And then we have for May, this is for June, and this is for July. This is the total over those 3 months. Now, here's something that I'm sure you're probably not taking well into account, but I want you to be mindful of it, because what we're getting ready to do for tomorrow is going to be important. And that is, what are your expenses when it comes to marketing? In this particular scenario, the money that's being used for marketing is solely being done on Groupons in this particular case. Now, Groupon, as an aside, is a marketing method, and it's just that it's a couponing component. Now, when you're first starting out in your business, the benefit of doing a strategy like a Groupon is that I tell people it's primarily for lead generation. You're not making money off a Groupon. Why is that? Because it's a coupon. And then on top of that, it's reducing your value by such a large amount, it may not even be worth the effort. So you have to be really mindful. And there's a whole bunch of talk with respect to that. But I'm just sharing with you, this is the scenario, right? So this particular scenario, the owner has only put in $300 a month, and they put that all under the Groupons to get some new customers in. So you need to take that into account when you look back up here at your numbers to decide, okay, how many of those customers are new customers versus repeat customers? And did any of those customers in this particular case, how many customers were Groupon customers? Now, what that also means is that that average is going to come down quite a bit, because Groupon is reducing your retail pricing to get the person in the door. So that's why I say Groupon is really for lead generation. You need to be prepared for that. You're paying for people to come to you. But I'm going to give you a warning in the sense that typically Groupons are for bargain seekers. They want something on the cheap. So the issue then becomes, are they really your ideal customer who has the interest and the will for putting the service and the product that you sell as a priority, and not look at just for discounting purposes? So you have to be careful. Is that a big mechanism that you truly want to invest in? That's just an example, but I'm just sharing with you. So in this particular case, that was the marketing strategy that this individual chose. They didn't know me, right? So they chose Groupon, and they put $300 in investment into that over those 3 periods. Okay, so that's that. Now, that being said, I do need to make you all aware, those of us who are running a business, on average, between 5 and mostly 15% of your gross revenue is what should be set aside for marketing. Now, the whole purpose of marketing is that you are investing in the opportunity that you can get new clients who are going to spend money with you, which will then increase your bottom line. So you got to pay to play, as they say, right? So what are you paying in order to pay? And also know this: if your competition is doing it, then number one, and you see them doing it, apparently it's working. So then you got to think about, is this something worthwhile? And what am I doing? What can I do differently what I am doing? So on average, you should be looking at 15%. If you're not at 15% right now, as is this case, right? Because I think this one, well, you can tell, because even 10% would have put them at least $400. So let's look at how do we increase those numbers over time? And it should be so that you can generate the revenue that you want to have, right? So that's just the example. Now, we also looked at, again, those high performing products and services. What were they? So these were the, a couple of them that were part of this 48, 32, and 37, right? This is how those sales kind of broke down. These were the highest selling items. Now, some of that was attributed to the fact that these people were Grouponers, but not all. So again, if you dig into your data and you can say, okay, of this 48, how many were Grouponers? If you said 17, okay. And then of those 17, because each month, I think she did a different offer or a different coupon, different type of service, right? So again, pay for play, what was paying off, what didn't pay off, and was it really worth it? Because again, Groupon, you really do reduce your prices and you're still supposed to give your best value. And in this particular case, that's a physical, technical, effort, right? It's not something that's sitting on a shelf. When you're providing a service, you're still your time, right? You just sold your time for less though. So is it worth to do it that way? You could try it and find out and see, but you don't know. So that's just something to think about. So those of you who are live, have any questions or comments, go ahead and post them right here inside of the Facebook chat. Or if you're on YouTube, you can do the same there. Okay. Now, same thing with least performing products. Something's not moving off your shelf. Some services you're not seeing, people aren't gravitating towards that. Why is that? Think about it. Again, is it seasonality? So in her case, this was, the express reliefs aren't doing so great. Moms to be, not so much. And then again, you look at, well, what have I been doing to make people aware that I even offer services to women who are in their pregnancy months and can benefit from that type of a massage service. If you haven't been promoting it, well, you need to also look at your statistics though in your area. What is the birth rate in your community? And if there's a benefit to that, right? Lots of ways you can skin the cat when it comes to data. And again, what are those most profitable services that you're benefiting from, right? So that's just some data here. All right. So now that we have a quick snapshot, right? I want you to be able to do something very similar with your numbers, right? Just throw them in the spreadsheet, just like you see here, break them down, right? And then if you want to, you can generate some charts. Now, I'm going to just do this real quick. And again, Google Sheets, best friend. All right. So now this next column I just happen to have was just the average month, right? So on average, 39 sales on average over those 3 months, right? And the average revenue is about $3,600 a month. Now, I'm not getting folks' business about their other expenses and overcome. You need to look into that, right? What did you actually put into your pocket after you paid the rent and you paid the bills and everything else that came along with it? What did you net? That's for you to figure out. This number here is, if we were to look at the amount of the average income right now, 15% of that is really $550. Okay. So which means if you were putting that much effort into maybe a different marketing strategy, but on total, you can mix things up. Marketing should be a good mixture of things, right? And sometimes there is trial and error, right? So keep that in mind. But there's certainly not enough of it when you look at it from a budgetary standpoint. If you budget it for marketing, you're not budgeting enough. So this person isn't budgeting enough to yield them probably a higher revenue than they probably are doing right now. Remember, you got to pay to play. So this is an aspirational number, $550 towards marketing from $300 a month, right? So what could that look like over the next 3 months? How do we move in that direction? And then what is that going to yield you at the end? Those are some things to think about. All right. And then let's see, what was this number? I think this one was just the average by the week. Okay. The average number of sales per week and average sale per client per week. Okay. Now, so that's your data. I want us to be able to use that data for this next step, which is how do we start to formulate a goal? So in your handout, let me switch over. No, I'm going to switch. Let's go to your SMART goal and stop sharing this. And we will go on over to here. All righty. So now that we've looked at our data, we have some things swirling in our head, right? Things could have been better, always could be better. But it could have been a whole lot worse too. So be fair to yourselves. All right. So let's start to set and plan for your achievements for your new goals. So SMART goals, again, are utilized because they work. And what it's going to help you to do is to put something not tangible, but put it on paper. So a SMART goal first starts with being specific. Your goal needs to spell out very precisely why and what you want to do, right? You just don't pull stuff out of thin air. You don't throw spaghetti on the wall, right? But there needs to be some benefit, that is going to be a driver for you, right? So here's one of the examples is a goal might be to earn $12,000 a month and onboard some 5 new quality clients over the next 90 days. That's very specific, right? You want to use language that's going to leave out any doubt about what is this goal? What are you trying to do, right? So when a person asks you, like me, your business coach, well, why do you want to achieve that particular goal? What's important to you? How did you come to that? Right? Well, I looked at my data. That should be the first thing coming out your mouth. I looked at my data. I looked at this data, that data. This is what I surmised, right? Be that specific. The next component is going to be that it needs to be measurable. So this is where being concrete on numbers. That's why I always say you own your data. So how measurable, how do you know you've met your goal if you don't know how it will be measured? It's either quantifiable, it's in a numerical way. Okay, so again, I want to be able to deposit into our business bank account an additional, $1,000 a week, right? And I can accomplish that by writing more articles for one of my clients, right? So the measurable part is increasing, being able to look at a number that says, I'm increasing my revenue, I'm increasing my deposits I'm putting into my bank account. The next one is to be actionable or achievable, right? And in order for you to have something, in order for you to achieve something, well, you got to take some action, right? So making your goal actionable, which is where tomorrow is going to be, in the sense of putting that into an action plan, so that each day is you're doing something each day to get to that accomplishing of that particular goal. So we want to make sure that is something that you can attain. It's not out in la la land, right? But it's something that's achievable that you can get a win from and take responsibility for at the same time. Then you need to make sure it's realistic. Again, look at your data, right? Because if you're making $500 a week and your goal is to increase it by $12,000 a week, is that really realistic? Probably not, because you'd have to do a whole heck of a lot in same period of time for that to actually happen. Can't say it can't happen, but how realistic is it? Whereas it's something you can achieve in that period of time, and then you're able to maybe move down the line and do another goal, right? So it also should be relevant to your vision and the things that you value most, right? There's no point in making achievement goals if it's not going to have any relevance to long-term business goals or life goals for that matter, right? And then time bound. We need to put a date on this baby, right? So T is to be time bound, to be timely, and to be trackable. So not that you're setting limits on yourself, but you certainly want to set a time limit to say whether or not I met the goal that I sought out to do, right? So you need to put some time behind it. So whichever words is going to help you make that, crafting that goal, the most important thing is that you actually make the SMART goal. So that's what we're getting ready to do now. So here's an example I'm going to walk you through. And there's one inside of here, and I'm also going to do one. So the one here is just answering those questions, just as I noted earlier. I want you to use the worksheet when you have time to come back after this session. And simply answer these questions. What goal do you want to accomplish? Why is this goal important to you? What do you need to do in order to accomplish this goal? What obstacles are you going to face while achieving this goal? Be realistic. When you're thinking about your measurable goals, thinking about how much and how many do you need in order to achieve the goal? And how will you know that you've achieved that amount? Write it down in sentences or bullet points, but these are questions you want to be able to go through in your head and answer. And don't skip the questions, write them down. If you don't want to use the worksheet, write it in your journal, that's fine, but answer the questions. Next is, again, achievable. Is the goals attainable in the period provided? Yes or no? Can the required task be completed in the time frame? Yes or no? Then being realistic. Is your goal a realistic goal? Is it something that you can do? Or is it something that you can do, but you're going to need some help? Because that's part of making those things actionable when we talk about the actual project, the strategic plan. What is that going to entail? So you don't always think of everything as about what you're going to do on your own. Okay, so keep that in mind. And then again, is it relevant to the overall business goals and your life goals in general? Remember, we're talking about short-term goals right now. To me, short-term goals are anything that's like 3 or 4 months. That's a short-term goal or less. Okay. And then time bound. When will you accomplish this goal? Are you going to accomplish it in the next 30 days, 60 days, 90 days? Which one? Pick one. Based on what you've already thought through, obviously. Okay. So here's an example. This is a very broad one, and then we're going to go into something relevant to what we just looked at in our sample data. Okay. So specific, I sell handmade card sets through Etsy.com. I will sell some handmade cards. That's specific. Measurable, I will be ready to take my Etsy store orders within 4 weeks, and I will aim to sell a minimum of 5 card sets a week. That's measurable. 5 card sets being one measure, 4 weeks is another measure. What's attainable about that is I will set up the Etsy store first. I could do that. I then will build an inventory of the 30 handmade cards to sell 6 unique sets. And then I'm going to promote my business and build customer relations through word of mouth, referrals, Facebook ads, local networking. Are those all attainable behaviors? Sounds attainable to me. Nothing seems outrageous. And what's relevant about that is, well, selling these cards will allow me the benefit financially, right? From something that I love to do. I like to draw, I like to be creative. I like to hone in on messaging that's going to change someone else's day, right? And then what about it? It's going to be time-based. Well, my Etsy store will be up and running within the 4 weeks. That's one time bound. And I'm going to have the inventory of the 30 card sets that's going to be able to sell in 6 weeks. So those are my time-based ones as well. So when you pull all that together into one goal statement, what could that look like? It could sound something like this. I will set up my handmade cards through Etsy within 4 weeks, give a date, and then find out what is the 4 weeks, forget the date, right? Using word of mouth marketing, using referrals, ads, and local networking marketing methods, starting with an inventory of 30 card sets, 30 cards, and then selling at least 5 sets of those cards. We sell them in sets, right? Allowing me to generate X number of dollars a week. That's the exercise that you're going to do for yourselves and set a goal. That's your homework. So let's go back to our massage therapist, shall we? So the massage therapist example, I'm going to show that one. Let's see how you, so this might also be helpful and relatable to you. Let's look at what the SMART goal will look like for this individual, now that we know what we know. So this is just a note about 15%. So like I said, in this particular scenario, and also just for you to look out for yourselves, look at if you're not setting aside 15% of your monthly revenue towards marketing, because you're investing, it's a business expense, you get to write it off on your taxes, so it's not for nothing. Obviously, you want to be able to get a return on that investment, ROI. So the goal here on the back end is how to increase incrementally over the next couple of months to get to a 500 spend minimal, right? And then that's going to change again too, because if that worked and if you invest more and you're getting more clients and you're getting more revenue, well, then something's working and I can go ahead and put money back into the business and reinvest. So don't look at marketing as just a expense, but it is an investment in your business to generate revenue in return. What does that look like? And again, some of this is, you have to play with it and maneuver and massage it, if you would, along the way. There is no one cut answer, right? There's several different strategies that are out there. Identify which ones are working within your industry, what are your competition is doing and using, and then how do you want to take that all into account? Now, so one goal is you certainly want to increase your client base, right? It's always good. People, depending when it comes to service-based industries, some clients, like I have clients, they're service-based industry clients, right? I have coaching and I have our done for you agency services, right? And yes, we do work with them on a monthly basis, and their subscribers and all that great stuff. But folks will change their tune and drop off. So you always want to be looking at acquiring new customers. If you solely are reliant on the same people every month, you're setting yourself up. Because one day, that big ticket customer that has been holding its weight for you is going to one day say, I think we're going to go and try somebody new. We want to go a different way. They'll come up with whatever. That's on them, right? Maybe not even a reflection of you, but in as much as you want to service your current customers, you've got to be prepared and always ready to, how are you bringing in new customers? They're not always going to be of the same level necessarily. You have to give range and room for that, flexibility wise, but be mindful. So you want to increase your client base by a number. Current client base is 48 clients or 48 services, right, a month. So the goal here is increasing that to 60 sessions a month within the next 3 months. So what could that look like? Revenue growth, certainly want to look at that. If the revenue growth is 36, how do we move it by increasing it by 15% a month revenue? What could that look like? So now we're looking at, instead of $3,600 a month, we're looking at $4,100 a month, right? And that could be within the same 3 months or a little further out. You make those decisions. And then from a marketing perspective, in order for you to do the revenue growth and the client growth, you're going to need to enhance your presence locally and your presence online. And being able, so that also means about how do you create and implement a content marketing strategy to improve online visibility and engagement. And that mixture of local and online, or a combination of the two. So here's what the SMART goal will look like for Tranquil Touch Massage. So the specific pieces, they're going to increase the number of clients served per month. We're looking to increase the client base from the current 48 a month to 60 clients a month served. That's measurable. What's achievable is, well, if the national average and the client service is to increase by 12 clients per month, is a reasonable enough goal to achieve using that content marketing efforts, right? That's an achievable goal, to get 12 new clients that month. Now, in this particular case, because it's service-based, some of these are repeat. Some people are coming back and rebooking versus people who are new. So you can specify whether or not you want to increase the number of rebookers in the same month, or depending on what your service is, versus new clients who you've never served before. So you have to make those decisions, but things to think about. And then what's the relevance in it? Well, the relevance is, increasing the client base is going to have a direct contribution to my bottom line and my revenues and my growth goal. And then being town bound. We're going to achieve this goal within the next 3 months. So when we put it all together and so something that's something you can articulate, this is what we would have as a SMART goal statement. So our SMART goal statement for Tranquil Touch Massages: we will increase the client base for Tranquil Touch Massage from the current 48 clients per month to 60 clients per month within the next 3 months. This will be achieved through the implementation of a targeted content marketing strategy that focuses on providing valuable information about massage therapy and wellness, engaging with the local community, and leveraging social media platforms. That, my friends, is what we could call a SMART goal. It is specific, it is measurable, it is attainable, it is relevant, and it is timely and time bound. The timeliness of it is you need to be mindful. Okay, so now we're saying in the next 3 months, if now it's August, so mid-August. So if we say from August to September, September to October, October to November, right? When we think about what it is you want to do and sort of think about your season, if that applies to you or not. It may not. What do you want to be able to do 3 months out from now that's going to be applicable? So when we talk about your marketing strategies in the next session, that's what we're going to be walking through. But that, my friends, is essentially the steps to take around setting goal for your business. This is for any goal in any time window. So I want you to always be mindful of that. So you can be smarter and you can own your data, and together between knowing the strategy for establishing a goal, looking at your data, and how is it that you can formulate a statement that you can own and take responsibility for. That is what today's session is all about. Now, again, money blockers, you took care of that in day one. Today, we're all about setting a goal. So that's your homework. Let's just get that statement drafted out as best you can. Practice it. You have room inside of your tool. Again, it's inside of the guides and in our Facebook group community. If you haven't already done so, go to smallbizsociety.com and you'll be able to get in and access the information there, as well as a copy of this recording so you can review it again. And then share your statement here in the community. All right, because that way I know that what I've done for you was of value and that you put what you're learning into practice. It's not about setting and getting, it's about doing. What are you doing to move your business, and how can content marketing and myself help you to make that happen? All right, so download the tools, figure out your work. If you didn't already do it while you were walking along with me, great. And then tomorrow, we're going to talk about a content marketing strategy now that we have our goal. What is that going to look like for you? And I'm going to take the same scenario. We're going to keep that moving forward and create a content marketing strategy. For those of you who are going to be able to join me live, I'm going to help in taking your information and we can map out a couple of marketing strategies together that you get to take home with you for free, which is normally a very valuable item in and of itself. So do know that. So for those of you who can, please join us here tomorrow, same time, same place, inside a Content Creation Tips and More Facebook group. And until then, I will bid you a good day and let's get busy. Have a good one. Bye-bye.